this is Bandit, and this is Bandit, and this is. Okay, how you doing? I'm back again, and like I promised, we're going to talk about the naming ceremony. Now, names are very important to us as Africans, and I guess all over the world. I'm Efik, and I'm married to someone from Calabari. So my Efik name is Iyang. My father's name is the same, Oku. My husband's name is Jacks. And the name that my mother gave me as a Catholic is Julia. Now, all those names mean that when I get to a certain place, people will ask me, is it Julia or Julie? But they would also naturally ask, were you born in July? Which I was. Maybe that's the reason why I kept asking her why. Why did you name me Julie? Why did you name me Julia? And that's possibly why. She never quite told me. And then Iang is a name from the Efik ethnic group. And there are not many women who are given that name. Iang It's usually a male name. It's supposed to be how do I call it? Not gender sensitive, but where I come from, it is gender sensitive. So Oku would definitely place me in a particular place, and Jax in River State would definitely place me in Abonema, belonging to a particular family. So names are important, and the names that you call your business, very important, tell a lot about who you are, what you do, and what you hope to do with your business. So some names sound really exotic, but can they be sustained? Can you put the funds behind it? We talked about funds, the resources in the previous episode of Brand It. Do you have the resources to put behind the name to make sure that people truly do get it, what that name is? Because sometimes you have to market your name a lot so that people will understand. Now, I'm going to run a few names by you. That's what we're going to. This is going to be a bit more practical. I'm going to run a few names by you and see what you think of them. And I'll come back and round up on them. Now, there's a name called Verge l'Accessoire. What do you think they sell? Lavenders. Now, my French is probably as good as my Yoruba, so feel free to correct me. Grocery shoppers, Fix It, Lady Cobbler, Herven, Ruby Shoe, Hello Kitty, Nike, Amazon, Adidas, Gap, Accenture, The Baby Lounge, Coach Masters Academy. I'm sure many of you have interacted with, if not all, but many, at least maybe 60% of these names, because they are brand names that many people know. They're either regional niche or global brands. Many times we don't even ask why were they called that in the first place. And what I'd like to say, okay, let me start with Verge l'Accessoire. That is a name of a business that was an accessories business started by my niece, the same niece I spoke about earlier in the previous episode of Brandit, and she put those names together based on the names of her daughters, and she wanted something that sounded exotic because she was trying to look for a way to differentiate herself. Now, what do you think Ruby Shoe sells? I'll let you tell me. What do you think she sells? Or the company sells? Grocery Shopper speaks for itself, and there's some names like that. They just tell you this is who we are. Just like our name, Julia Jacks Consulting, which we'd like to call JJC. And why do we call it JJC? Because we want to grow with growing business. We want to work basically with growing businesses. People who are literally Johnny just comes, people who want to start or have started and are looking for a way to push forward in their businesses. We have Fix It. Fix It is a great name, but what are we fixing exactly? You have to put some muscle behind, and that muscle is marketing, is money, is exposure. You have to make sure that people know what you are fixing, because you could be fixing shoes, but like Lady Cobbler is very unambiguous. You know exactly what Lady Cobbler is doing, and you know that there is a woman behind it. I mean, I think that's a fantastic name. Amazon. Now we know what Amazon is. But I'm sure at the beginning, all we knew that Amazon was a river, is a river in South America. South America, right? Yes, South America. Yes. Amazon is a river in South America. And he had to figure it out from there. And that's why it's important to know how to write a brand story. How about Gap? I did a little research on that, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Gap later. Hello Kitty. I would never have known Hello Kitty if I didn't have a daughter. If I didn't have a daughter who was obsessed, literally obsessed with everything Hello Kitty. May I say everything Hello Kitty. You know, she grew to love Hello Kitty just as I grew to hate Hello Kitty. So but I'm glad she's over that now. Coach Masters Academy, it speaks for itself. You know what it is. It's unambiguous as well. The Baby Lounge, it speaks for it is, and it gives you an expectation, just as Coach Masters Academy gives you an expectation. Coaching, to be a master, in coaching, and then we have the academy for that. The Baby Lounge, bring your babies and they can lounge around, they can have fun. We're going to treat them like VIPs. Yeah. The one, like my friend Tess mentioned, Adidas. She said, "Oh, not all brands are like Adidas." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I need to talk about Adidas." And I'm going to give you the Adidas story next week. I did some research on that and I found it extremely exciting. So that's what we're going to talk about next week, because there's always a story behind the name. There should be a story behind the name. Now, some of us are names on social media only. People don't really know us outside the names that we have on social media. We haven't yet built a brand story. We haven't really designed what our personality is, what our values are. So we have to be very careful. If you want to go far, you have to be intentional about the naming ceremony. So don't put a mishmash of your family names together. I know many of us start from the back of our houses, we start from the kitchens, we start with our husbands and family, everybody plus the kitchen sink is thrown in. But get a name. Get a name that people can use. Get a name that is memorable, or put money behind it. Be ready to put money behind it. And be very careful about the kinds of names and handles you give yourself on social media. You cannot be selling a serious, let's say, service consultancy business and your name is at sweetlips.com. Please, you just can't do that. Or honeybunch.com. And what are we going to say? I'm going to think that you're selling honey, or some other things. So you have to be very, very careful, very intentional about the names that you give your businesses, and the handles, very important. I would say rule of thumb, keep it simple, keep it explanatory, and when people know you enough, you can change your name. I could move from Julia to being Iyang. And my husband, when we got married, he gave me Ibio Belemaye. So I could move from that, but I have to establish that this is Iyang first. So next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Adidas story. I find it extremely fascinating, and I'd like to share it with you. And I hope by now you've begun to start thinking about what you're selling as a brand and what kind of name that you're selling, because it's just going to get deeper. Take care, you all, and stay safe out there. Keep shining. Bye.